morning, and welcome back to the 40% Better podcast, where we talk about all things related to leadership, specifically in the world of technology. And today, Jeremy has graciously accepted our invite to come here and talk about his leadership journey. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Bill. It's a pleasure to be on here.
Yeah. So this is pretty unscripted. Um, but having said that, there's one question that we always start off with, and that's, how did you get started in leadership? You know, was it you were a kid, or was it something you got pushed into as an adult, or like kind of how'd that all play out?
A bit of both. I mean, early on as a kid, I was raised around the military. My father's retired master sergeant in the Air Force. So leadership was always a big quality of how he raised me, including school and then sports. So I grew up playing basketball. I was never the most athletic person, athletically gifted. My brother was the athlete, but there was always that sense of I knew how to be that coach on the floor. I could be that leader. And so growing up, there was always that. And then as I progressed in the workforce, leadership was always instilled into me, and I always accepted the challenge. I loved that challenge of saying, hey, I want the responsibility, let it be on me, and I'll make sure it gets done. And if my team fails, it's on me. I'm more than happy to just die on the sword type of thing. And then eventually I loved the idea of running my own business ever since I was a kid. So again, I didn't want to shy away from those things. So I always put myself in the situations where it will push me beyond my limits.
I love that. Okay, so my dad also retired military, and one of the things that I noticed, and I've interviewed other folks here um, who've who've served, and it seems like the military does a really good job, especially for folks that stay in long enough to get to where your dad got. Um, it's really good for leadership training and then instilling that in other people. That's I think that's one of the secret benefits of
Yeah, I mean, it's
the military.
like growing up around it. And then I actually did ROTC in college for a little bit. And the moment you are thrown into that world, they throw you to the wolves. You're essentially being thrown into the fire to become the best version of yourself, to constantly improve yourself for this greater good.
Right, right. Yeah, I like that. I think that's such a it's such a smart way to build people. And I think sports is also another one. You know, it's you learn about coaching. We learn how to be coachable. And I think that's a huge part of it. Um, yeah, I like that. That's very cool.
Yeah, yeah,
So
it's one of those things. Like again, being in sports, it just like the military, it brings out leadership qualities and helps you become a better person.
yeah, 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 I like that. And so when you in the civilian world, you know, when you're working for companies and stuff, what was when you first started working, kind of what were the responsibilities? What were the roles? What were you doing early in your career?
So, the my father, after he retired from the military, he served as a civilian employee for the Air Force as well, doing the same exact job as a contracts manager and contracting officer, acquisitions related stuff. And so when I started college, I actually worked alongside him at the Air Force Base here in Los Angeles in El Segundo, doing the same thing as a contract specialist. I was an intern. So I was going to school full time, taking 5, 6 classes a semester, and then essentially I was supposed to work part time, but because of the way my schedule worked and everything, I worked nearly full time alongside my course load. So immediately I was thrown into that world of the military acquisitions, and I was given responsibilities right away. The I joke around saying I was this lowly employee, fresh out of high school. I wasn't even supposed to look at these things, let alone be working on them because of the complexity of it. I mean, I'm working on satellites and space systems. These contracts, I was
Nice.
actually the one negotiating alongside my supervisors, the contracting officers. And mind you, you're looking at this 18-year-old kid negotiating multi-billion-dollar contracts with grown adults that have been doing this 20, 30 years.
That is a an awesome training experience, and how did it feel?
I mean, I was definitely terrified, but at the same time, growing up around that environment, uh, being in my dad's office all the time as a kid, I sort of had this bravado, this sort of arrogance, like, I can do this. This is no problem. And so I actually, again, kind of going back to it, I always put myself in the situations to accept the challenges. And so anytime an opportunity presented itself in the office, it was like, hey, can someone take this on? Can someone start doing this work on this program? I'm like, Jeremy can do it.
Very cool. Okay, so one of the things that I've noticed is that there's people who are really comfortable, like you're talking about raising your hand and volunteering to take on challenges, and then there's people that are not so comfortable. Um, what what was it that made it like for you? And it's not about like skills; it's an emotional thing. What made it so that for you, you were like, "Yeah, I'm doing this."
For me, I was always growing up, I had this mindset of I'm going to achieve my goals no matter what. And so I'm going to do whatever possible to get me closer every single day. And it does mean sacrificing comfortability. Um, Again, being that kid, being that 18, I say kid, even though technically I'm an adult at that point, um, being that kid in the office across the table from these people who've been doing it for years and years and years, they I would get these sort of things, these responses like, "Oh, we want someone more senior. Oh, you don't know what you're doing. You don't know this enough. You're not good enough." And for me, a lot of people would really get disheartened by that, and I won't lie, I did too. There was always this negative sort of thought in the back of my head that I wasn't good enough, but I just had this sort of attitude saying, "I'd rather try and fail than not try at all." There's always going to be someone to catch me if I fall. And that's how I sort of live my life.
I like that. Yeah, yeah. Being willing to fail is so critically important. Props to your folks for teaching you that. That's awesome. And,
Well, it's
however
actually
you learned it.
funny. My family taught me how to go after my dreams, but at the same time, they are very risk averse. Um, Military, typically, you are more on the conservative side, because you want to ensure everyone is safe. Number one thing is everyone comes home together. That's sort of no matter what branch you're in, it's making sure everyone comes home. So naturally, everyone is a bit more conservative in terms of risk. Me, on the other hand, I studied finance in college. Uh, being being someone who has these lofty goals, I never shied away from risk. So I kind of took all those lessons my family taught me, my parents, and everyone around me. But I was saying, no matter what, um, again, if I fail, I fail. It's not the end of the world.
Right. And I think, also, in the military, risk is more life and death. In business, it's, it's, money and ego,
Yeah.
you know, and so there's a, on the scale, it's a little bit different, right? And so, if we fail in business, it's not nearly as catastrophic as if you fail in a military engagement.
Right. It's more
Um,
personal ego in
yeah,
business. If we fail, it's like, oh, there's the stigma of I'm a failure. I can't do this. And then we bring ourselves down and keep ourselves down.
right, right. Yeah. So from a emotional resilience perspective, because I think about that all the time, um, what are some of your systems for getting back up again?
I mean, it's number one, just having the mindset of keep going. The worst thing that can happen to you is you lose everything. And that did happen to me. My first startup, I lost everything. I put everything into the business, burnt myself out. Thankfully, salvaged a decent relationship with my co-founder, but I lost a lot of his money because I made a lot of decisions. So I was at rock bottom. I lost everything uh, to the point where I moved back in with family. They took care of me. Like it's hard, but having that resilience to say, just keep going. This is a stepping stone. I'm going to get where I want. That sort of attitude is number one, but you also need this sort of outlet to take care of yourself. For a lot of people, it is therapy. Some people, it's the gym, going, lifting weights, whatever it is. For me, that outlet is Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. It's taught me so much about resilience and how to keep moving forward, as well as just surrounding myself with people who have been where I am. The people I train with are very successful in their worlds, and they push me every day to be better.
Nice. I like that. Yeah. Yeah, it's, you're I wanna say you're the 3rd person I've interviewed who trains in BJJ.
It's
Um,
become a bigger and bigger thing over the last 10,
yeah,
15 years. I mean, when I started training 15 years ago now, there were a lot of people doing it, but now you have celebrities endorsing it, celebrities training and competing in front of people. Uh,
right, right.
like I've trained with actors, celebrities, directors, business owners, CEOs. I actually witnessed Mark Zuckerberg competing in Redwood City 3.5 years ago.
Oh, nice. Very cool. Yeah, I think, you know, yeah, the resilience thing and the get back up and do it again cycle, like, you're having the visceral experience of, you're sparring, you get tapped, and then you're gonna do it again, you reset,
Yeah.
right? And I think that's such a valuable it's such a valuable training venue for your head to get over fear of failure.
It's a very cerebral martial art. It's a very cerebral sport. When you think of football, baseball, basketball, there's this physical gift that a lot of people have that play at the highest level. But there also is that mental aspect. I'm not going to downplay that. I've
Yeah.
been around professional athletes, and they are some of the most mentally resilient people I've ever met. And with BJJ, jiu-jitsu, martial arts, there's always that thing, like, we all grew up knowing about karate, and it's like instill discipline, and you become this resilient, disciplined person. That is a very true thing, but within BJJ, you're kind of how I dealt with my entire life is you're thrown into the wolves, you're thrown into the fire from day one, and you learn how to fail fast, fail hard, and learn from it and get back up. Because
Right, right.
it's one of the few things where, in order to get better, you are going to constantly fail.
Yeah, 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 totally true. Yeah, I think, I spent a lot of years surfing growing
Mhm.
up, and that's a super high failure rate sport. Um, I spent a little bit of time doing BJJ, um, and again, super high failure rate sport. I really like I see that on both of those, and it both of them are training grounds where it carries over, or can, if you want it to, carry over into other parts of life, and clearly you're making that association,
Yeah, and
which
it's
I
it's
yeah,
it's surrounding yourself with the right people to make that connection.
right,
Everything we learn can be translated into everything we do. It doesn't have to be, hey, you do this in surfing. It doesn't mean it's siloed just to surfing. Same thing with martial arts and jiu-jitsu. Like, I tell people all the time, like, I love the fact that I have a degree in finance, that I studied finance. I I love that. I'm grateful for it. I'm proud of it, but I'm actually more proud of the certificate behind me right here. That's actually my brown belt certificate for Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu from Jean-Jacques Machado. He's the first cousin to
nice.
the Gracie family. He's been training himself for 50 plus years, and he's touted as the best instructor in the world. I'm more proud of that certificate than I am of my own degree. And it's not to downplay that, but I've learned so much that translates to it. And one day I will get a black belt certificate from him. And I already told everyone I know I'm going to cry when that happens.
Yep, totally makes sense. Yeah, yeah. No, and it's, it's the individualized success metrics that we have, you know?
Yeah.
And brown belts in BJJ are very hard to come by. Um, College
Yeah, I know
degrees are a lot more common.
there's like a floating statistic going around. I don't know how true it is, but it's something like 1% of people try jujitsu, and out of that 1%, uh, somewhere around 0.5% of those people actually become a purple belt, which typically is about 5 years of training on average. And then
Yeah.
brown and black belts, they're still very, very few. So, uh, I am part of this very select group that have earned a brown or black belt in Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. And to make it even better, uh, when I do look at whenever it does happen that I get my black belt from Jean Jacques Machado, he's personally promoted less than 100 black belts himself.
Oh,
So
wow.
to be a very, very select person to
Yeah.
earn that that sort of pedigree is an amazing thing. So it's and the way he teaches, like again, he is very, very detailed in how he teaches, and he makes it unique to everyone. So he teaches everyone the same
Mm,
exact move, the same exact technique, but he teaches it to you differently than he will your partner. And
right,
that
right.
helps me translate a lot of things into the business world.
Oh, I like that crossover there. Yeah, because not everything scales identically because we all have different biomechanics, and the
Yeah.
thing that for you totally feels comfortable and relaxed and easy in a move, for me might be super awkward. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to teach someone who's 20 years old differently than you're going to teach the 60-year-old person who just retired and is trying to do this for fun, just to have some
Yeah.
exercise.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah. And being able to abstract the concept of that from BJJ into the rest of life, that's a really powerful um mental frame.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's this huge sort of cliche that everyone within the martial arts and jujitsu community, especially, it's like jujitsu saved my life, and like, I it literally saved my life a couple months ago. I'll give you an example. I actually in January had a very bad infection that led to sepsis. And I
Oh
was
my
in the
god.
hospital honestly feeling like this was going to be it. My heart was
Wow.
racing. And then on top of it, I end up having an allergic reaction to a medication. So my
Oh,
chest is
yeah.
swelling up. I can't breathe. But one of the biggest lessons that we learn in jujitsu is how to be calm under pressure, how to control your breathing. And I attribute that lesson to helping me survive.
Yeah. Yeah. That's really good. I'm s I'm always impressed when I hear stories of how people have that emotional resilience because one of the things I've noticed here, with all the different people that I've worked with over the years is that the people that get the most stuff done have the best emotional resilience.
Yeah, and you
And
you have to. I mean, there's so many things that put you down, and if you wanna be this leader, there's going to be so much negative in your day to day. Like, that's where the cliches like no publicity or bad publicity is still good publicity, things like that, because there's always going to be those negative people. There's always gonna be the negative events that happen, and as a leader, it does rest on you.
right, right. Yeah, yeah. I'm starting to think that recommending BJJ for people that want leadership roles in companies should become the norm. Like,
Yeah.
that should, that
I'm
should
not
be a
against it.
HR benefit.
I've taught jujitsu myself, in the Bay Area in Redwood City. I trained jujitsu for 15 years, and some of the smartest people I've been around swear by jujitsu, and the same as me, they make the translation from the mats into their day-to-day job. Venture capitalists, CEOs, all these people, they're finding so many benefits from it. And I will say this, it's not for everyone. Just like everything else, you have to find what
Right.
works for you. But there are so many benefits that I've at least taken away from jujitsu in so many facets of my life.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah. So in the other part of your life where you're not rolling on the mats, um, what talk a little bit about the kind of work you're doing right now.
Yeah, so one of the things I've always loved doing, and this is why I got into coaching, was I love helping people. And I about a year and a half ago, I started a business doing fractional chief of staff work, fractional operations management to help startups and small businesses grow. I made, like I said earlier, I made a mistake or made a bunch of mistakes with my first startup Stash It. Uh, and so I tell everyone, joke around saying I learned how not to run a business because I made almost every mistake you can possibly imagine. And so my life mission now is to ensure I bring out the best in people. I help them reach their goals. It brings me a lot of joy to help them, and if I could get them closer to their dreams, that's what my business is all about.
And from an operational perspective, like what are some of the things that you consistently see business teams struggling with that you help them with?
Right now, it's a lot of just systems and approaches. How do we do things consistently and in a certain cadence? Because there's a lot of repeatable things that every business has. So it's a lot of operations framework, systems improvement. Right now, implementing AI effectively for teams. It's number one. I'm all about implementing AI not to replace people, but to enhance your workforce. And one of the biggest things I constantly deal with, and this is something I actually love, is dealing with executives, dealing with founders who realize they are a problem in their business because they've become a bottleneck and they want help not becoming that bottleneck. So I look at this sort of holistically in their business to make sure that everything runs like a well-oiled machine.
Nice. I like that. Yeah, that's in the what's it kind of the common problem in businesses that founders have is when they become the bottleneck.
Yeah,
And
I mean, you sit there and talk about all the time, like, it's the sort of hurry up and wait attitude that a lot of employees have because they're like, "Okay, well, every decision has to be made by the founders or the executives," and then they're so busy, they don't have time to do it, and my job, what I help with, is ensuring that, the founders and executives enable their team to make certain decisions, so that way they're not the founders aren't worried about, hey, I need to approve this purchase for printer ink or something like that. It's like let them focus on the big issues and let your team do what they do best.
right, right. Yeah, what's the word I want to use? Pushing the responsibility for day-to-day operations out to the people that are like closest to that thing and operating in that environment.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
That's a very
from a leadership perspective, for me, one of the things I don't classify anyone a leader until you've built that next leader. Because my
mm,
job as a leader, my job as the person up at the top, near the top, is longevity and the future of the business. If I
right.
leave, what happens? So my
Yep,
job is to build and enable the person below me to be able to step into my role. My goal is for them to replace me. And I tell all my
right.
clients, my job is to eventually build your systems and improve your systems to the point where you have to fire me.
Yeah, and that totally makes sense that having that scalable. So, do you have, what kind of systems do you use to train people to replace you?
So there's no cookie cutter solution. No matter what marketing schemes that anyone has out there, there's no cookie cutter solution because again, we're all different. We all learn different. We all process things differently. So it's a matter of finding solutions unique for that business. Uh, the common tools I typically use are Zapier, Slack, and some project management tool like Asana, Notion, or Motion. But it's all predicated on who's going to be using it, to what extent, why are they using it, because I don't want them to necessarily buy 50 different tools to solve 50 different problems. I want to build a system for them that it's like, hey, there's these one or two things you're going to use that's going to solve all of these problems. That's kind of what we've been seeing over the last 5 to 8 years is this explosion of all these SaaS tools, and founders are like, oh, I have this problem. This tool solves it, but it doesn't talk to the other tools. And now you're, like I said, you have like 50 different tools to solve 50 problems.
Yeah, yeah, that's, that's actually one of those things that I find so funny, and I've been at companies where where, we had all these different systems, and we would do audits and realize nobody had touched one of the tools in 3 months,
Right.
and we're paying for it, I mean, we've got 50 seats and nobody's using it, I'm like, it's not all the money in the world, but still, like, we could put that someplace
Yeah. I mean, you think of
more,
it with 50 employees, take Asana, for instance, it's something like $30 a month per seat. If you're
right,
doing that, that's what, $1,500 a month.
yeah,
So there's marketing budget. That's your advertisement
right,
budget for a lot of businesses, a lot of small businesses to try to grow.
yeah, yeah, exactly, yeah. When you're thinking, so I always think about getting people to operate in this isn't really a word, but in a leaderful kind of way, um, which is less about the tech and more about their heads. Do you have you started, like, focusing down that road at all?
Yeah, I mean, again, I take this holistic approach with everyone, and one of the things I I learned from teaching kids, of all things, was anyone who has kids or been around kids, you get annoyed to the point because kids always ask why. Why do we do
Yeah,
this? Why are you doing that? And you give them an answer, and they're like, why? But why?
yeah,
And we don't do that enough as adults. We don't do that enough as leaders. When you ask why, it forces the individuals to dig deep and really understand what they're trying to say and articulate it. Because a lot of times things get lost in translation. I say things one way, but you may not receive it the same way I'm trying to get you to.
right,
So if I continuously ask why, it helps you alter how you think in terms of perception. So this is where a common thing is Elon Musk. I'll use him as an example. Very smart guy, very wealthy guy. People can have whatever perception they want about him. I've sat across the table from him, and my goodness, he is smart, but he surrounds himself with smart people. And people will say he comes off as very egotistical, very short, very sort of rubs you the wrong way. But in his mind, he values his time, he values everything around him. He has to be quick and short. He wants to get to the point. He doesn't want to beat around the bush. To him,
right,
that's getting the job done in an effective manner, but to us receiving it, it may be perceived as this guy's kind of a jerk. So it's that
right,
perception that we have to get around, and that's what I try to instill in a lot of the leaders I work with is how can you adjust your leadership style to the person? One of the big things I learned was there's all these personality tests like the Myers-Briggs. Within
yep,
leadership, there's this one called the predictive index. and uh, like it's this crazy test. It takes when I took it, I want to say it took like 40 minutes to actually do it. Um, and my co-founder for Stash It, he brought in a business advisor that he had been using for years, and this is something he swore by. So I took the test and got the results back. And what this did was actually give me a report on who I am personality wise, how I am as a leader. And mind you, it was spot on. Uh, Things
Nice.
like, here's where you're going to struggle, here's where you can improve here. And the biggest thing is, here's how you manage every other personality. So it was like,
Mm.
you have the salesman, you have the artsy person, all the different styles and archetypes that you have to manage each one differently. And this predictive index report gives you a blueprint on how to manage each of those people. So
Oh, interesting.
with leaders, like, you can't say, just like how I do with the tools I bring on, it's nothing is cookie cutter. Everyone
Right.
is a little
Right.
different how you have to treat them to get things through to them properly. Yes, we have to systematize and keep things somewhat congruent across the board, but when it comes to the minute details, we need to ensure that we can communicate effectively with each other.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. I tend, it's interesting because as you're talking, I'm thinking, huh, okay, how does your approach and our framework either coincide or differ, like the way that you think about it. Um, and I guess I see this kind of like you're talking about Jean-Jacques teaching BJJ. There's like there's a technique and you have to customize it for every individual, right? And so
Mhm.
we train in leadership. One of the foundation things that we teach is mental models and um and belief structures, because I've noticed that people that do really well in leadership have very consistent mental models, and belief structures, even if they can't articulate them very well. And part of the reason they can't articulate them is that they've never sat down and actually tried to communicate them effectively. Um, and then you get to the communication piece, which is how do you as a leader communicate effectively with your team, which is what you're just talking about. And again, um, we've found structures that work really, really well, um, and structures that don't, um,
Yeah.
like everything, right? And the ones that work really, really well, again, we see this consistency, but we also see that um, people who are using these structures aren't necessarily communicating to other people like what they're doing and how they're doing it and why they operate that way, right? Because I'm very much a systems thinker.
Yeah.
Um, and it's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like, we we assume people are going to do things when we need things to get done, and, like, the best sort of analogy I've been using more and more, it's kind of like anytime you get into a fight in a relationship when you're dating someone, there's always at least one time where one of you gets mad at the other because something didn't get done, but the reality is you didn't convey it properly. So if I'm like,
Right.
"Hey, can you take out the trash?" You may not see it as something immediate, whereas I'm like, "Get it done right away." Um,
Right.
and it's sort of like, "Hey, I assumed you knew what I was thinking." And that's
Right.
where a
Right.
lot of
Yeah.
breakdowns happen and these arguments happen in relationships, and it's the same thing within our business world. Like, when
Right.
we assume people know the urgency that I'm trying to portray, if I don't portray it and convey it properly, you're not going to see the same sense of urgency. If it's something like, "Hey, we gotta get this done now because we don't have any money in the bank account left. We're gonna shut down the business if this doesn't get done." That that treats me differently than it will you, because if I'm the leader, I'm the one in charge of the bank account, I see it. You may not. So
Right,
you'll
exactly.
perceive it differently.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's a that that being able to understand when other people get the communication
Yeah.
and that it's in their success metrics. Like that's one of the pieces that, that we talk about and recognize all the time, is that translation, I guess.
Yeah, like
Um,
systems are great. I'm a very systematic person. I like saying, here's how you get from point A to point B. You make this turn, that turn, having the directions there. But not everyone operates that way. Some people need the sort of kick in the butt every 5 seconds, like, which is why motion is a great tool. It will put on your calendar, like, hey, do this task now, do that task now. But other people are very just in the clouds, like, I'll do things when I do it, but they will get done. And again, that's where the communication comes in play. So the systems are great, but they're only great if they're set up in a way that it works for you.
right, right. Yeah, I like that. That's very cool. Um, are you working on any kind of interesting, fun projects right now that you can talk about?
I mean, I'm definitely working on a lot. One of the ones I'm really excited about is one of my good friends, they're one of my clients. They're actually my first client. We're getting ready to launch a crowdfunding campaign for their business. He's a huge Dungeons and Dragons guy, and so he created a business for tabletop gaming. At the surface level, he's writing these modules for these RPGs. So
Hmm.
people can download it, they can purchase it, download it, and play with friends. Uh, on a deeper level, we're actually doing some crowdfunding to build this entire database to enhance the experience for people who are not who are geographically separated, that we can all play together and go along with it at the same time, rather than there's still this sort of need to be in the same room for it. Um,
Right. Oh,
so
interesting.
he has this idea, this thing where uh, he wants to create this whole ecosystem, and uh, like I love it, not because he's a friend of mine and because we've been working on it, but I see the value in it. I see, again, kind of how I think it's bringing people together for their use, and there's more that I wanna talk about, but we're kinda keeping it secret for now, that
Okay.
will bring out a lot of creativity in people.
Oh, that's awesome. That's really cool. My older son's way into D&D, and so offline you'll have to like tell me how to point him in the right direction to check it out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
once it goes live, I'm definitely going to just let you know, and so you can check it out and,
Okay. Cool.
give us some
Awesome.
feedback.
Beautiful. I love it. Cool. This has been super cool. I really appreciate the time and your your very thoughtful communication. Um, any other words of wisdom you can think of to give to people?
Yeah, I mean, number 1, no matter what you wanna do, go after your dreams regardless of what anyone else thinks, and do what makes you happy. People on so many levels, they chase money. They chase the things that they think we're supposed to go after, the stigmas of going to school to get a degree, to get a good job. But if you're not happy doing it, then it's not worth it. If you go after what
Yeah.
you enjoy, the money will come. The money doesn't matter. Uh, like, I'm extremely happy when I first started this business, even though I didn't make money right away. Like, I'm very happy I could make my own schedule, I could, move it around my training schedule, and there's so many benefits when you actually enjoy it, and you enjoy waking up every morning. The dread of Sunday night, Monday morning never comes because you're constantly enjoying what you do. So I wanna make sure I leave it with that. Chase what makes you happy.
I love that message. Yeah. Uh it's interesting because my dad actually gave me that advice when I got out of high school.
Yeah,
Yeah.
my parents did the same thing. Again, them being more on the conservative side for risk. They always thought I was going to join the military, kind of follow in their footsteps, go into this stable job. And they were kind of torn at the same time because they always saw something more in me. They knew I was going to chase that dream, and it
Yep.
scared the living hell out of them when I did. But they even say it to this day. They're proud of how happy I look, how happy I am, and it makes them happy.
Yep. Cool. This has been awesome. Thank you so much. Your insights are awesome, and the fact that you can pull BJJ in there is just a total win. So, thank
Thank
you.
you
I
for having me.
appreciate
It's
it.
been a pleasure.
Yeah.